But we do have to start with an exclusive interview with ESPN Argentina and Lionel Messi. He spoke to Martin Arevalo about his future, and here's what he had to say.
Vas asumiendo que queda menos, lo disfrutás más por eso. Yo creo que el mundo no está preparado para que vos dejes el fútbol. ¿Y vos?
Y yo creo que yo tampoco, ¿no? Toda mi vida hice esto, me encanta jugar a la pelota, disfruto de los entrenamientos, del día a día, de los partidos. Y sí, un poco de miedo a que se termine todo siempre está, ¿no? Fue un paso difícil dejar a Europa para venirme acá. El hecho de haber sido campeón del mundo ayudó mucho y a ver las cosas de otra manera también. Pero no lo pienso, intento de disfrutar, por eso disfruto muchísimo más todo, porque soy consciente de que cada vez falta menos y la paso bien en el club, con la suerte que tengo de tener compañeros y amigos al lado, la paso bien en la selección, donde tengo compañeros y amigos también, y muchos, y disfruto de los pequeños detalles que sé que cuando no juegue más voy a extrañar.
¿Tu último club es el Inter?
Sí, creo que sí, hoy por hoy creo que va a ser mi último club, sí.
Let's now welcome in Aage Fjortoft and Gab Marcotti. He's already in Germany for us. But I do want to start with you, Aage, here, because there'd been a lot of thought that Messi may end his career in Argentina. But as he just said there, today he feels as though it would be with Inter Miami and MLS.
What I get from Lionel Messi is what I think most players, when they're coming to the end of their career, they start having this inner monologue, this conversation, this introspective, this sort of talk to yourself and saying, okay, I can feel it, it's coming, and how do I go about ending my career? And obviously, in the case of Lionel Messi, he can pick that time whenever he wants to. And whoever he says, I want to play for you, they'll take him with their arms wide open. But in this case, he made his choice to come to Inter Miami so that he can enjoy the game from a different perspective. And I think this is part of the sort of easing his way out of the game by enjoying and then truly going back to basics when it comes to playing the game. Is like, why do I play this? What does it mean to me? Why motivates me on the day-to-day? What is it that I get excited about? And so that however long he thinks he's going to play, he can enjoy those little moments that he's talking about. And I think for all of us that have been a player one time or another, it's those little moments that you miss the most. It's the back and forth in the locker room. It's the anticipation of a big game. It's the preparation for that big game, and really the relationships within the locker room. And those, again, people think of, in the case of Messi, would be a World Cup final, would be a title with Barcelona, a Champions League final. There would be many big moments, but I think on the whole, what I would imagine he would miss would be those relationships and those little details that he's talking about. But I don't think that this is something that he's just throwing out there. Obviously, from what he says here, there's been a lot of thought, a lot of introspection. Again, I go back to what I said earlier, the inner monologue. And it's a decision that, although he's fearful of, I also think he's at peace with. And why not? You're Lionel Messi. You've done everything. You don't have to apologize for anything, and whenever you want to walk away, go ahead and do so. But make sure that you do so after you've enjoyed all those little details that he was mentioning.
So as we said, he says it thinks today that it will be here at Inter Miami, but he's not ready just yet. And I know that's how you felt as well, Stevie. So when did you know it was time?
Listen, this is a very individual thing. You know, I knew my time was up because I was doing things I shouldn't have been doing, and I couldn't do things that I wanted to do. But as far as Messi's concerned, I think he's a little early to come out of this, because it's one thing to say you're going to do it, but when Messi to me is one of those guys that doesn't really play football for the money. He plays football because he loves playing football. And if he's still doing at the end of this contract what he's doing right now in MLS, why would he stop? You know, it's alien to me. I find it really hard to believe that Toni Kroos, at this stage of his career, is going to stop playing after the Euros. That blows my mind. I'm figuring out, why would he do that?
But that's because of how you felt, because you never wanted to stop right.
And that's why it's very difficult. And I also think it's very difficult to try and preempt the strike because I didn't know that I was going to finish until I knew. It just hit me. That's it. I wasn't thinking 12 months earlier, do you know what, I think this will be my last season and then I absolutely wasn't like that. And I played because I loved it. I loved getting paid, but I played it because I loved it. And I didn't want it to end. And I think he's going to do the same. I think it's all very well and it's a smart move to try and figure out in the near future what you're going to be doing when you finish but you know what? When you don't have to, that realisation might come to him in 12 months and he might go, you know what, I think I might have another year.
How did you know, Jan, and what do you miss most about being a pro footballer?
Well, first of all, it's interesting to see that interview with Messi because no one else, and in all due respect, have nothing at the football pitch in common with Messi. But we have the same fear when it comes to the end of our career because Lionel Messi, myself, and Stephen, everybody who have played football, we are still kids who love to play our game. And we are lucky that we get some money for it, but still we're in that with a passion. And Lionel Messi, as anybody else, he will think of who am I without football? I'm the football player, I'm the football star, Lionel Messi, and you just come to that day. I knew when I was playing Eintracht Frankfurt, we planned with the family to go home, and then do I want to go home and stop playing football at the same time? So I signed a 2-year contract with Stabæk, where Bob Bradley is the coach now, by the way, some fun fact here. I signed for them 2 years, but I just felt after a couple of 2-3 games in Norway, there were as many fans in the stadium as there was on the parking lot in Frankfurt, and you kind of lose that 5-6% of motivation, and then you know this is the beginning of the end. But I will say, and I do understand what Steve is saying about Toni Kroos because he's at the top of the world, winning the Champions League at Wembley, he's playing at home for his nation in the Euros, but still, he managed to do it. I think that is a fantastic attitude. We see too many footballers going into that life, have no idea what they're doing. The stats of players after their career, failure, bankruptcy, divorce, and so on, that is enormous. And I think I respect Toni Kroos so much that he managed to do that when he wants, and he does when he's top of the world.
When did you know LA?
Well, first of all, my team was terrible at the time, and that doesn't help. And because you now, for the first time as a professional, I was having a difficult time when I got out of bed and knew that I was going to have to walk into a locker room in which I knew full well, more than likely, we were going to lose more games than we were going to win. And so at that point, you start thinking about what the future holds. And my kids were getting older, and then it would have meant having to go to a different team and packing up and move once again. And I was having that sort of conversation, again, that inner monologue, and saying, okay, I can keep playing, but it's sort of hanging on at this point. And I don't think it's fair to my family to continue to do this and continue to pack up and move and have new schools and new house and new friends and having to develop new relationships. It's not fair to them. But more importantly, I'm not the player that I used to be. However good I was or however not good I was no longer that guy. And the decline had started. I knew it had started, and you just have to have what I think is a very honest conversation with yourself, looking at the mirror and say, is this going to get any better? Probably not. It didn't help that my team was terrible, and so that made the decision a little bit easier. And what really made the decision a whole lot easier was the fact that ESPN had already reached out to me and said, hey, if you want to do this post-career, we think you can do it. And at that point, I said, see you all later. Take care. I'm out.
Just desperate to be alongside the likes of Stevie Nicol, Craig Burley, and Shaka.
Well,
If only you knew.
I didn't know Craig was going to be part of the package deal.
Gab, we don't have Shaka here today because shock. He is on vacation.
Oh.
So you have to, yes. So you have to settle the debate for us. Is Lionel Messi the GOAT?
Oh my goodness! Years of watching Shaka has taught me this is a lose-lose answer. Look, I will give you an artsy cultural answer, which is people have their own individual GOAT. For me, for people of my generation, for many of us, the GOAT will always be Diego Armando Maradona, and because he was able to generate emotions in us, which others weren't, and which Messi and Cristiano, even though he scored a lot more goals, won more things, different era, blah blah blah, don't. For people before them, maybe it was Pelé. Before that, maybe it was I don't know, Di Stefano, Puskás, whoever. But I know it's a trite, corny answer, but I know better than to get involved into in the Messi Cristiano debate.
Yeah, you're too smart there, Gab. But there will be more of that exclusive interview with Lionel Messi coming up on tomorrow's show.